I'd like to welcome everyone to the Village of Northfield regular council meeting of October 25th, 2017. Could all rise for the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Niehaus?
Here.
Mr. Magistrelli is absent. Mr. Scher?
Here.
Ms. Domzalski?
Here.
Mr. Hips?
Here.
Ms. Nowak?
Here.
Mr. Voitush?
Mr. Voitish is here. He's temporarily out of the room.
Okay. Mr. Bryan?
Here.
Mr. Wasowski is absent. Chief Zolgis is absent. Chief Buss?
Here.
Mr. Walters?
Here.
I am present.
Can we get the approval of the minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hips, seconded by Ms. Nowak for approval of the minutes of the regular council meeting of October 11th, 2017. Any questions, comments, or amendments? All in favor of approval?
Yes.
All opposed? Minutes are approved, Mayor.
At this time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to address us at this time?
Mr. Fisher, you.
Mayor, members of council, my name is Kenneth.
Please turn on your microphone, please.
Hit the,
Hit it, got it, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I shall start again. Mr. Mayor, members of council.
Everyone is limited to 5 minutes, just so you know.
I'm not going to speak that long.
Okay.
I promise. I'm going to be very brief. My name is Kenneth Fisher, attorney, here tonight representing the Roxino. And again, in the caucus before the meeting, I heard reference to a correspondence dated October 20th, 2017, sent to Mr. Bryan with the intention it would be shared with the mayor, the council, and the administration in support of ordinance 2017-78, which would be the prohibition of marijuana cultivation, processing, and dispensaries for medicinal purposes at this point in time in terms of what's been legislated anywhere in the village. My client, the Roxino, specifically Mr. Milstein, very, very strong feelings, long time commitment to this village. The Roxino itself, contrary to the councilman's remarks, with all respect, is internationally branded and has created a number of jobs, thousands of visitors to the village, significant employment in the village, $5 million in annual revenue to the village, which is approximately, I believe, 1/3 of the village's annual payroll, and certainly has a right as a member of the community to voice an opinion. And that's what it is. It's an opinion. It's a strong opinion, and it's heartfelt, and it comes directly from Brock Milstein, what he believes would be a damning effect on the village. And as he's seen and his family's seen the village evolve over the years into the positive community it is, a strong residential community, tax base that's strong, he feels this is detrimental. And that's his opinion. And that's all it is. I want to make that very clear. It's not about strong-arm tactics or anything else. It's his heartfelt opinion that it's not in the village's interest in terms of the image of this village to allow either any of the three permitted uses that will be licensed by the state, whether it be cultivation, processing, or dispensing of medical marijuana. And he raises some very valid points in the letter, which everybody can read. But again, it's done in the spirit of not only protecting the substantial investment of the Hard Rock Northfield Park Roxino, but also what the Milstein family believes is the very positive image that the village has been able to establish over a period of time. And there isn't a whole lot more to say. I understand there isn't going to be a vote tonight. At least that's my understanding, that it won't be voted on tonight. But certainly like to encourage all the council to support the prohibition. It's in the best interest of the village. It's very difficult to, I think, compare medical marijuana and what it could bring to the village compared to the tremendous benefits that the Roxino has created and will continue to create, and hopefully hopefully including at some point even a hotel, which is, again, clearly possible. And again, it's nothing more than that, and I don't think the letter should be taken in the spirit of anything more than the right of the Roxino to express an opinion on a matter of public importance that's before council. Many communities have banned marijuana. Others haven't. So it's a decision that you make, and the position of a major taxpayer is, I think, something to consider.
Thank you.
Mr. Fisher,
I-
can I ask you a question?
With the mayor's permission, yeah.
Jen, did you have a question first?
I did. First of all, I'd like to say that I am not a councilman, I am a councilwoman. Thank you. Secondly, I understand the matter of opinion, and I appreciate that because that is something that we talk about a lot. We want everybody's opinion, and we get more out of our public when we get these opinions. My issue with the letter is that I get the impression that there's going to be a bunch of people walking around with joints hanging out of their mouths up and down the streets causing riffraff and trouble. And that's what I don't like with the strong letter. I appreciate the letter, and I knew it was coming, like I said. But let me ask you this. What is your client doing against our heroin epidemic in Summit County? I mean, an order was just signed, was it not? Did anybody read this article?
The Trump signing tomorrow?
Is that what it was? So my question is, when we're talking about something that is up and coming and they're working on all the pieces because there's so much information behind this issue. What are we doing about the issue right now? We're getting a letter in regards to what could be coming, but what is your client doing to help Summit County with that and the image here? Do you know how many ODs we've had in the village?
So my client is a businessman. You're talking about the opiate epidemic in this state that has received national attention.
But you're talking about the image. What about the image of the ODs here that your client is in?
So, councilperson, my response would be, the proof is in the manner in which this particular facility has grown and become, I think, recognized throughout the state, highest revenue of any facility, Roxino or casino in the state, the manner in which the business is conducted, the safe environment that is created within the footprint which he controls. He can only be responsible for what, again, is part of his business. There are lots of problems in society, and you may name a major problem, but I don't think he can. Well, he's concerned about what's outside his business, and I guess that.
But there's
that's the
current
point.
issues outside of his business.
So the revised code allows communities, political subdivisions, cities, villages throughout the state to determine, based on home rule, whether to allow or disallow this use through zoning regulations. That was part of the enactment from the Ohio legislature. So there's a legislative direction to you as a council person to make a decision. And my client has a right to express an opinion which you can either consider or not
Your
consider.
opinion, though, the opinion, that word is being used so loosely because we know what's going to happen. We know. We're going to be treated differently if we don't do what your client is requesting us to do. We know that.
I disagree with that.
And you should, because you are his representation. I would expect you to disagree.
Right, and I don't want to argue with you either. So I mean, I think the letter speaks for itself. I'm here to, actually request that council support 2017-78 when it goes to vote, and consider the position of everyone. I understand Councilman Hips has, I walked in, I heard his comments. I was told he's got strong opinions in favor of this, and that's his right.
That was a reiteration of what I'd heard in the village, not necessarily my own opinion.
Okay, well, that's fine.
I was explaining what I had heard out walking around as your client had referred me to do, go talk to the people of the village, and I was expressing what they had stated.
I don't know.
And I have a question as well.
All right.
If a hotel were looking to move into the village, would we be receiving a letter voicing opinion against that? If we had another gas station that wanted to move into the village, would we receive a letter against that? Those are also permitted uses per the village zoning code. Would we be asked to revise our zoning code to disallow those uses as well?
That's a little bit different than the direction from the Ohio legislature for local political subdivisions to determine based upon home rule and the comprehensive plan in that political subdivision,
have the
whether
right
to
to
allow or
govern
disallow.
zoning.
Of course you do. And if you want to pass legislation that would preclude a hotel from coming in, even though Hard Rock is very serious about locating a
No,
hotel
what
in the
I'm-
village,
what I'm
that would
stating
be
is
something
that-
that you could consider.
What I'm stating is that a hotel other than yours would want to come in. Would we receive a letter?
I can't speak to that. How would I know? I don't know the answer to that.
I would speculate we would.
May I ask a question?
Mr. Whittush?
Mr. Fisher, is
Yes.
this Mr. Milstein's opinion, or is this the Hard Rock's opinion?
Both.
Because the Hard Rock in Vegas has at least 12 medical dispensaries within 2 miles of their front door. So I don't know, is the Hard Rock doing anything out there to try and get those closed, or?
You know what, councilperson, I'm going to be proper here, councilperson, I don't know Nevada law on marijuana, dispensing, or for that matter, cultivation, processing, and I'm not sure what their position would be in another state, but I can tell you that the letter represents Brock Milstein's position and the company's position, which again would include his, his partner, his equity partner, which would be the Hard Rock. And they are looking to brand a Hard Rock hotel in Northfield Village. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't know timing, but it's in discussion stages, and that's something maybe you want to consider.
Thank you.
Mr. Fisher, what was that bill that is coming up that you wanted us to?
2017, it's the ordinance, 2017-78.
Oh, okay. I missed-
I'm sorry, councilperson.
Okay, I
It's your
apologize.
ordinance. I
Yeah.
reference the state statute
Got
that
you.
allows you to make a determination based on home rule, whether to allow or disallow based on your zoning code, marijuana, either cultivation, processing, or dispensing.
I understand now.
Yeah,
I
but
thought
this-
you were
I'm
talking about
just
something
about
else.
your ordinance,
Okay.
your prohibition, which again is part of the directive from the Ohio legislature.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything? Okay. Anyone else in the audience? Yes.
Yeah, I think everybody here knows my opinion on this. We've talked a lot about opinions here. From what I can tell, it seems like a veiled threat. And
Ian, can you just state your name?
Yeah, just because we're in another meeting.
oh, okay, I'm sorry, Ian Grisbowski. I've been here several times before. We've talked about the medical marijuana facility here in Northfield. We know my interest in it. We know the position I'm in, and as of this point, due to the political climate. Like I said before, we can talk about opinions all night long or talk about opinions forever. This looks to me like a veiled threat, sounds like a threat. The only thing I can think of people coming to council members with opinions based on, and kind of I'm not trying to start a grudge match with the attorney for the casino. I think we all know where I'll end up in that. But when it comes down to it, when corporations or businesses force the hand of council members to make decisions for the community, I think that we all know where that puts us. And I'm not here just to open my business, because through the political climate we've seen where that's ended me up at, but I'm still here to support the community and the interests of the community for this. And as far as opinions go, when they come from money or backed by corporations or backed by people with vested interest, the last I can remember of a group of people doing that were referred to as organized crime or the mafia. And I'm not saying that has to do with anything that the casino is doing, but there are plenty of suicides related to gambling debts. There are things that are, as far as, you know, if we're looking at just alcohol use, you can brew, I work for a brewery, the third largest craft brewery in the United States, and you can brew 10,000 gallons of beer at your house without a license. And we're worried about somebody accessing CBD medication because they have Tourette's. Like, I don't know if this is that big of an issue when it comes to public interest and people gaining access to medication. And I would hope that the city council wouldn't get their hand forced by overarching corporations or overarching money by holding threats over their head about what they will and won't do in the community.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience have anything for us tonight? Yes, please. Would you please sign in?
Yes, council members, my name is Christine McCoy. Yes, I am Ian Grzybowski's mother. I'm also part of the team to bring medical marijuana into this area. They asked me to join on part of their team because I run a very successful business in North Royalton. I have 30 years experience at Federal Express. I'm retired from there. Their whole goal for bringing this type of facility for the dispensary was very culminated between a group of people that wanted to bring medical marijuana into the city. I live in North Royalton. At this time, North Royalton bans it. I feel very strongly that I hope that does change in the future. They asked me to come on board because we wanted to make this something that was a very professional building with professional, your pharmacists are backing it. It's done on the utmost up and up. You know, that it's run well. I've won customer service awards here in I'm in the pet industry, to make sure that it is run properly. It is above board on everything, and it was to be done, you know, to the better interest of the community. I would like to see it in my community as well, and I know there's a lot out there. I have a family member that had a drug issue, and I can see that it's really not the same thing. I mean, I can understand where there's that concern because I don't see anybody arguing about a CVS on the corner when most opiates, you know, come out of there, and there's an issue, and that's just a national issue. And it's not saying that, you know, that could be a problem, but in the same, we're moving forward in the understanding of what medical marijuana can do in order to help illnesses. And I hope that there's communities such as yourselves that will look to possibly having this in your community as well as supporting in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience have anything? No one? Okay, moving on. Reports of the municipal officers. The mayor would like to report I've been receiving a lot of positive feedback on us not joining with Macedonia. I've gotten phone calls, I've gotten emails, I've gotten letters, all positive. I shared some of those with Tricia. I was very excited about that. We definitely made the right choice in that council, so very, very happy about that. Moving on to the finance director, Ms. Ingracia.
On the agenda this evening, 2017-75, I did reach out to the state auditor's office to verify whether or not they would approve the property improvement fund. There were some minor changes that needed to be made to keep in line with the Ohio Revised Code. Brad did have a chance to tweak it. I didn't have a chance to send it back to the state, so I'm requesting that that stays on for the next meeting. Let's see. The emergency resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Summit County Budget Commission is just a regular annual housekeeping measure. that says, yes, we are okay with the amount that you're going to, or your assessed valuation of the village property and not income tax, property tax. This again happens annually. 2017-81 emergency resolution with amendments to the appropriations. There are 3 amendments. One is for mayor's court conference education and travel reimbursements, simply removing $60 from the court computer fund for conference education and travel and putting it into the general fund that's where it was paid from. And so that's a 0 increase. The one that is an increase is the SALT, which is on the agenda for this evening as well. That's $11,000 that will need to be amended. And finally, the last meeting, Councilman Voitush had a few items that he had a question and then he had a few comments, and I would like to take the time to address these comments. For starters, Councilman Voitush, here is a list of all of the accounts in the September 2017 report that you saw as exceeding the original approved appropriation. The question that you asked was, there are quite a few line items that are over and above the budgeted amount, and you asked what the administration has in place to stop that or oversee that so it doesn't keep happening. There are parameters that can be put in place in the accounting software to prevent encumbrances and expenses from exceeding the individual account's original appropriation approved by council. However, the manner in which the council approves the appropriation ordinance does not mandate this level of control. We previously, the administration, had accounting software that was very hardwired to prevent excess spending in an individual line item from exceeding its original appropriation, but it was later determined under myself and the mayor that this software was antiquated and needed replacing, so we did that. Having to bring back amendments after amendment of the appropriations was actually greatly frowned upon by you, if you don't recall, in 2016. So I've made it so that that is not necessary. And now you're questioning why we don't micromanage every department on the spending. So I take issue with that because there is a legal level of control, which I know you understand. Ours is fund, activity, and object level. There's also a management level of control, which states that if we fall within the legal level of control within the fund, activity, and object codes, that we are not required to amend appropriations over and above at the object level. So, the next thing I would like to address is the comment, the small line item eventually turns into a big line item if it is not being watched. You said, I understand that we can reappropriate money and move things around. In the meantime, we have the fund that's gone over that should have been watched in the meantime. What you are specifically saying there is that I'm not watching. Now, excuse me.
Yeah, we need to have quiet in the audience, please.
There is a meeting protocol. You had your option. You could have spoken within your 5 minutes, and so if you could just let me address the council person without interruption, I would really appreciate it. Jason Buss and Jason Walters, I'm asking you, have you ever had a conversation with me about the spending that occurs in your departments? And how many times would you surmise the conversation occurred?
Well, I can speak for every purchase unless it's office supplies, I will get a comment or question on and review. There's no purchasing in the fire department that is not discussed prior, unless it's building supplies or basic office supplies.
I'm pretty much the same way, speaking or however you want to put it in the terms, but yes, there's not many purchases, if any, that you are not asking or seeing what exactly they're for or whatnot. So.
Thank you. The next comment I'm going to address is the quote, "If we are spending that kind of money, apparently the budget was not done right in the first place." Brad, when council approved and passed the budget, did you find anything legally wrong with the budget?
I did not.
Okay. So we have line items that have exceeded individual line items.
And again, if you want to emphasize for the audience, we are within the legal level of control. None of the budget line items we've exceeded, is that correct? Exceeded
correct.
the appropriation amount. It's
The
just,
categories are not in excess of the legal level of control. So I just want to make sure that you know that the original council-approved appropriation ordinance for budget year 2017 for all village funds was $9,318,746.77. The council-approved appropriation amendments that have occurred for budget year 2017 increased the appropriations to $9,604,486.77. And of that $9,604,486.77 appropriated for all funds, $6,544,664.91 has been spent. The percentage of funds remaining for expenditures as of October 25th for the remainder of the year is 32%, and we are nearly over in October. We only really need less than 25. So we are completely within the budget for all funds. Additionally, the original council-approved appropriation ordinance for budget year 2017 for the general fund only was $5,457,573.62. The council-approved appropriation amendments that have been approved and occurred for budget year 2017 has decreased the appropriations to $5.2 million and some change. So of those appropriated funds of $5.2 million, 3.9 and some change has been spent, and the percentage remaining of the funds for the rest of the year is 25%, and we only require under that. So we are better than on target this year. So I'm using this term because it's the first one coming to my mind. Nitpicking the individual lines is not showing the full picture. And I don't think that it was appropriate for you to say that the budget was not made correctly, because it was. And that concludes my report.
before you conclude, I guess, Ms. Aggressive, if you can explain why, you know, it's difficult with all the, is it the object level line items, it's nearly impossible to predict, you know, spending.
I don't
for
have a
your year.
crystal ball when I make a budget. Nobody does. You know, I have the list, you received it. I can't predict truck failures. I can't predict fire engines being in accidents. I can't predict that you guys wanted to increase what was done to the presidential subdivision. I can't predict that the sewer line that was originally supposed to be it was 60,000 doubled to like 125 if I'm not mistaken for Kennedy's. I cannot predict the changes that are going to be made by you all. I can't predict the changes and instances that are going to occur for service, police, and fire. All I can do is try to remain within the budget that was originally established, and for the general fund especially, I think I've accomplished that. So, I don't have anything else to say.
Does anyone have any questions?
I do have a comment. which it will kind of address what you're saying is, I do worry about the little things. I do feel that little things can become big things. And damn me for caring, because I'm looking out for the citizens and trying to figure things out here.
I understand your need for concern for the spending that occurs in the village, but your manner in which you approach someone, and namely me, is not very appropriate, in my opinion. I think that you handled yourself poorly at the August or October 11th meeting.
Well, ma'am, it's my opinion that you handle yourself poorly when you kick feet under the table and laugh and joke during a council meeting. So we
Oh,
both have our
nobody's
own
allowed
feelings.
to laugh and joke during a council
To me,
meeting. We're
it's
not supposed to have a good
To me,
time.
it's unprofessional.
Then I will cease and desist with the inappropriate behavior.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions? Moving on. Engineer Mr. Wasowski will be our next meeting. Law Director Brad Bryan.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. Our second November council meeting falls on Wednesday, November 22nd, which is the day before Thanksgiving. Traditionally, when that happens, we switch the meeting. So I don't know if council is interested in doing that or not. Sometimes we meet the Monday before, which would be November 20th. We do have a fifth Wednesday in November, November 29th, the next week. So I don't know if that's preferable to council.
Any bills or anything that needs to be done?
That's a finance night, so.
Would you prefer it on the Monday prior to get everything?
I don't know, let somebody check and see if that's the
Yeah.
That's the 20th we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It'd be the 20th or the 29th.
Either of those are fine. Doesn't matter to me. The 29th is a payroll week, so
20th
if we
would be
could do,
preferred.
if we could do the 20th, that may be better.
Does 20th work for everyone?
It's a Monday.
The 20th?
This is
Yes.
Monday.
Okay. Time?
7:30.
7:30,
Okay.
yes.
So if someone will make a motion to change the November 22nd regular council meeting from Wednesday the 22nd to Monday, November 20th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hips, seconded by Ms. Domzowski. Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed?
So then that in turn means that we're doing the finance committee at 6:30 that day. Okay.
Correct.
7? 7.
Okay. And Ms. Ingrassi, if we can make sure we notify the media of that
Yes.
change, thank you. All right, and the other issue, we'll follow up on Ms. Domzowski's comments earlier. The Summit County is spearheading litigation on the opioid crisis. They've talked to some law firms and are planning on filing suit. They asked us not to say anything until tonight, I think was the official announcement at this, there's a State of the County address by the county executive. And they have asked all municipalities in the county that wish to join up to join up. There would be no cost to the village. There's two law firms that are handling the litigation with some behind-the-scenes other legal advisors from Albany, New York, and Washington, D.C. It would be no cost to the village. The firm would be taking the firms would be taking a 25% contingency fee, and all costs would be out of any of the proceeds. The village would have to put in time, police and fire departments, as far as gathering information. I've talked to Lieutenant Mackey about it. I've not talked to Chief Buss, but Lieutenant Mackey thinks they would be capable, the police department would be capable of documenting any responses due to drug overdoses or drug dealing in opiates or possession cases. The time spent by the police, we have call times and end times of the responses. we could calculate what the payroll was for those periods, same for the fire department. And if there's any out-of-pocket costs, I know, fortunately, we don't pay for drugs and our Narcan, but if we have any costs associated with that, that could be included in, and we would discuss if there's any other items. And I, for one, see all the cases that we are responding to these types of issues, which are numerous and continuous. So the county has asked by mid-November to let them know whether we want to participate or not. They would give us a little additional time to pass the legislation, but council can let me know. I can prepare that legislation for the next meeting if your council is interested. And I think as long as it's passed by the second November meeting and we get them at least some preliminary information before the suit's filed, they're asking us to participate. But City of Akron is in, City of Barberton, Summit County Public Health Department, the Children's Services Agency of the county, and I have talked to people from many other communities who are intending to participate. So I don't know if anyone has any thoughts or initial thoughts or comments, and I'll try to get everyone the information, what information I have on this, the county's plans.
Just a quick question. Who are they filing suit against?
The drug companies, sorry, I should have addressed that sell the prescription opioids.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions, comments? No? Are you done, Brad?
Yes, that's all I have, Mayor, for my report.
Okay, moving on to department heads. Police Chief John Zogles will be our next meeting. Fire Chief Jason Buss.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Just a few quick things to go over. Mayor mentioned it, and I just wanted to pass on a message from the staff of the fire department. They're very happy with the mayor and council's continued support. Some of the rhetoric in the area, they were all very happy to hear. They feel very supported, so they wanted me to pass on a thank you to all you guys for that. Next, at the next meeting, the November 8th meeting, Bowen wants to reschedule that planning meeting to go over everything we've done. We are looking at doing that before our meeting. I don't know what the meeting schedule holds for that meeting.
You're saying the next
The 8th.
November meeting? We do have the overlay district project meeting at 6 o'clock. That usually takes about an hour, so.
Okay.
How much time do they
Is there any way
need,
we can
Jason?
push it to the end of the
I think you
November?
guys will probably have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So I would suggest either we push it to the, well, we've got the finance meeting too, so maybe.
I would advise council, it's something we do not want to rush, so whenever we
I-
have
there's a lot of
a lot of
information.
time.
I mean, the 6th on the 6 p.m. on the 20th, I'm sure they can make work if there's time.
Good. Yep, if you can let us know and we'll plan on that.
If anything changes, Jason, let us know.
Yeah,
too.
I'll let you know. And then, again, I just want to say we have smoke and CO detectors available at the fire station. They're sitting in boxes at the fire station. If you have residents, you know people who may benefit from them, I'd like to get them out to them. We don't charge residents. We'll come out and we'll put them in their house, and we'll check it out. So if you know anyone, if you're talking to neighbors, make sure they got fire smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. We got them for the residents. And then finally, I just want to recognize Lieutenant Joe Zemek, Firefighter DeSanto, and Firefighter Fox. They're going to be recognized next Wednesday at the University Hospital's Survivors Dinner. Basically, that's a program they put together when someone has cardiac arrest. For someone who survives that, on July 4th, they had a patron of the Hard Rock Roxino go into cardiac arrest. They worked with the staff. They have a medic on staff at the Roxino. They were there right away, provided excellent care. Our paramedics got there, went to Ahuja Hospital, and that person ended up walking out of the hospital. So at these dinners, they reunite the paramedics with the person who had the critical illness, and they get recognized by the hospital. So we have many incidents.
That's very nice.
Yeah, up at the Hard Rock of critical medical due to the fact that most people want to be there so that they're not leaving unless something goes wrong, and we've had many good outcomes. So they'll be recognized next Wednesday at a dinner. So I just wanted to also congratulate them for the hard work and support of the village. That's all I got.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let them know thank you from us too.
Does anyone else have anything at the fire chief? Okay, moving on. Service and Building Superintendent, Mr. Walters.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I think you all got my report. A couple things. The Village Leaf Pickup Program, we're going to decide Wednesday or by Friday. We may push this a week, being that the leaves are still up in the trees, and we do have a few piles, so I'm going to make that decision on Friday. We'll probably just postpone each of the dates a week or a few days anyhow. We'll see what the weekend brings us and then go from there. But I was out this week looking, and we have some piles, but the leaves are just now starting to come down. Many haven't even turned, so we'll probably be pushing that a week. Senior snow plowing program. The deadline is the 31st of October. We currently have 146 senior driveways to take care of. Last year we had 179, so we still have some that may be out there. So just if you can remind our seniors that they do need to get signed up by the 31st. Again, the deadline is on the 31st, so we want to get them in and get that list established and start getting the route put in, so I can get the guys getting the stakes out and then familiarize themselves with the route. Potholes, we basically are done patching, and then obviously we have 10 streets that we're taking care of. That 9 of them definitely took up a lot of patch through the years. So there may be something left if something does come up, or if you have a resident that has an issue, if you should see one that we haven't caught, please let me know. The plants will be closing before too long, and I really am moving out of that and getting more into preparing for the leaves and I hate to say it, but the 4-letter word. So, and as Tricia had talked, we do have salt this year. I have estimated about 800 ton. I can't keep going like, hey, are we going to have another one of them no snow winters? And I would rather have more than not enough, because after you run out and go past that point, then they can pretty much name their price. So we'll deal if we don't use that much. We'll just get that much, and I'll order that much less next year. Point of sale inspections, I've completed 65 inspections to date. Well, actually 71, I'm sorry. And then of those 71, 45 have been sold so far. So the property violations, we're currently at 40 property violations pending. And Presidential Road project, along with Maple, the main paving is now complete as of tonight. On Maple, we have to address the curb yet, and then throughout the whole project, we have manholes and water meters, monument boxes, things that have to be put to grade. And then I have a punch list of residents that have some issues with either like driveways, drainage pipes, things like this, that we're gonna have to address as well. And then they're gonna have the restoration part of the project left. There is a chance that some of this may end up happening in spring. We'll see, depending on what weather does and how fast the contractor can get things done. Other than that, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Does anyone have anything of Mr. Walters?
Jason, I do.
Yes, sir.
The 800 tons that you're getting, do
Yes.
we have a place to put all that?
I don't get it all one time. So
Okay.
we generally keep about 225 ton on hand. When we start to get rid of, we have the 2 bins now. When one starts to, I'll order 100 ton, and then that's kind of how we do it, so. It used to be we worked with only 100 at a time, so, if, let's say, I use 500 ton, I get a 300 ton at the end of the year. We'll do like we did 2 years ago, and it's gonna be out on that, and we'll just make do. That's how I'll handle it. I think that's the best, because like I said, you're kind of at their mercy at that point, and, I don't think they would go crazy, but, I mean, let's just say it was $5 more a ton. It's still more than we would want. I mean, it generally is more than that, but, I'm hoping that, it's kind of like what Tricia was talking about with the budget. It's hard to predict, and generally we used to get 1,000 to 1,200, so we're still a little under. We'll see. I don't know what we're gonna get, so.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jason, I have 2 questions. How much tonnage do we have left over from last year?
We got approximately, about 130 to 140 ton, maybe 150, somewhere in that area.
Okay, and you were saying 800 ton, but in our legislation it says 960?
Okay, the reason we do that is because you can go 20% above. So we go ahead and get a PO for the full amount that I can get.
In case he needs it.
In case we do.
But we only have
yeah.
to order
So
800.
I only have to take,
The 800.
actually I have to take 80% of that,
Okay.
so,
Thank you.
okay.
Okay, does anyone else have anything? Moving on. Reports of municipal boards and commissions, planning commission. Mr. Hips, I know there's something gonna be coming to planning next month.
Yeah, November 15th, we have a planning commission meeting at 7:30.
And just, Mr. Hips, just to let you know, I revised the agenda, so that should be going out soon. Ms. Rodriguez should be sending it out soon.
I think we
And
got that
the
already.
letters also to the
I
adjoining.
thought you already sent that out.
Yeah, I think we got the revised agenda.
Okay, and then, the property
15th,
owners,
7:30.
the adjacent property owners will get the notice for the variances too in the next couple days also, so. Okay,
Tomorrow.
so that'll be taken care of.
That takes care of the report.
Thank you, Mr. Hips. Recreation Board will meet the first Thursday of next month. We're gonna get ready for our veterans get together here at Town Hall. I think it's going pretty well. I don't think there's anything new that I have to say about it. I think we pretty much went over it at the last meeting. So that date is, and I never have it in front of me, I'm sorry. November 2nd at 7:30. You think I would learn by now? 6:30, I'm sorry. Moving on to Cemetery Board, Mrs. Greenlee is not present. I do not have a report from her. Brad, did you receive anything?
I did not.
Okay. Reports of the standing committees, Finance, Mr. Magistrelli is not present. Does someone from that committee have anything for us tonight?
It went well. Everything was the way it's supposed to be, thanks to Trish.
Okay. Our next meeting is when?
The 20th of November at 7 p.m.
20th of November at 7 p.m. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Sheriff, Roads and Public Works.
Well, I went down to the presidential estates, and I've looked at the work that they've done, and it's a 100% improvement. The folks that I've talked to over there are satisfied with how they've how they paved the road. So I didn't hear any complaints whatsoever. I mean, I only one thing about it is I know that we have to level out the sewers and that, and I was just wondering if that's going to be kind of an issue with the plow trucks, that the crown is a little higher than it was before.
Jason, that would be something you would know.
I don't foresee any issue with plowing the road. there is some deep crown in a few of the areas, Washington being one of them, parts of Kennedy. What you don't realize is that road was crowned, or not that road. Many of those roads had some severe crowns as it was, but most of it was just heaving, in the middle. But I'm not too concerned about that at all. It'll be the same thing as far as it's 100% better to look at. It'll be 100% better to plow, and we'll have a lot less time cleaning all the asphalt out of the people's front yards this year. So for the ones that need help with that, so it's going to be much better. I have no worries there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Health and Welfare, Ms. Nowak.
No report, Mayor.
Wages and Working Conditions, Mr. Wojtusz.
No report, Mayor.
Fire and Safety, Ms. Tomzalski.
No report, Mayor.
Buildings and Grounds, Mr. Hips.
No report.
Okay. Moving on to legislation, Brad.
Thank you, Mayor. First, we have 2017-75, an emergency resolution establishing a new fund known as the Property Improvement Fund with the financial records of the village. On second reading this evening, and again, as Ms. Ingracia stated, we're waiting to hear back from the State Auditor's Office to officially approve the latest version. So we'll leave that on second reading, and it will be on third reading at the next meeting. Next is 2017-77, an emergency ordinance amending Chapter 1492 of the Codified Ordinances relating to notification of foreclosure filings or vacant properties on second reading. And if you'll remember for next meeting, we do have an ordinance that requires properties that are under foreclosure for the banks to notify us of the foreclosure filings and register a contact person to talk to if there's any issues with the condition of the property. And this would extend that ordinance to also for vacant properties, that we would have a contact person that's responsible for maintenance and upkeep, and they would have to register with the service department. So I don't know what council's pleasure is this evening on this piece of legislation.
Move to suspend the three reading rule.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Hips to suspend the three reading rules, seconded by Mr. Wojtusz. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed?
Second.
Motion to pass by Mr. Wojtusz, seconded by Mr. Hips. Is there any questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of passage?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Okay. Next is 2017-78, an emergency ordinance enacting Chapter 889 of the Codified Ordinances prohibiting medical marijuana cultivators, processors, and retail dispensaries from locating and operating in the village. On first reading this evening, Mr. Magistrelli did request that we postpone action on this ordinance until he returns from out of town. So I don't know what council's pleasure is on that.
Do we need to make a motion to leave it there?
We do not. So unless somebody makes a motion to go forward, it will be on second reading on next meeting. Next is 2017-79, an emergency resolution authorizing the purchase of road salt from Cargill through the Community University Education Purchasing Association on first reading. This was discussed by Mr. Walters. Any questions regarding this legislation?
I'd like to suspend the three reading rule.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Domzalski, seconded by Mr. Hips to suspend the three reading rule. All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? Is there a motion to pass?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Domzalski, seconded by Ms. Nowak to pass. Any questions, comments? All in favor of passage?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Next is 2017-80, an emergency resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Summit County Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the fiscal officer on first reading. As Ms. Ingracia stated, this is something we need to do every year in order to get our money from our tax levies.
Make a motion to skip the three readings.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wojciech, seconded by Ms. Domzalski to suspend the three reading rule. All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? Is there a motion to pass?
Motion for passage?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Vojcic, seconded by Ms. Tomzowski to pass. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? And last is 2017-81, an emergency resolution authorizing certain amendments to the 2017 appropriation resolution and/or transferring items already appropriated in that resolution on first reading this evening. This was also discussed by Ms. Ingrassian.
I'd like to suspend the 3 reading rule.
Second?
Motion by Ms. Domzowski, seconded by Mr. Vojcic to suspend the 3 reading rule. All in favor of the motion?
Yes.
All opposed?
Motion for passage?
Second.
Motion to pass by Mr. Vojcic, seconded by Ms. Domzowski. Any questions or discussion? All in favor of passage?
Yes.
All opposed? Okay. That's it for the legislation, Mayor.
This time, is there any old business, new business, or announcements? I would just like to say again, how pleased I am with the response that we've gotten with not joining Macedonia. It's been overwhelming. Walking around, hearing from the guys in the police department, fire department, this is something our community did not want. And we all stood together up here pretty strong on it. And I think it's one of the best things we've done. So I'm very proud of that. You all should be too.
And Mayor, just to let everyone know, I'm going to be out of town tomorrow, coming back Monday night. So I'm going to be hard to reach second half of tomorrow and all day Monday, Friday, and over the weekend, cell phone and email I will be able to get, so just so everyone knows if I don't get back to you immediately.
And Mayor, just a reminder that the 31st, Halloween, for our residents, will be here at the police station from 6 to 8. We're looking forward to having our children here for it. It'll be fun. Okay, we'll bring it up again. Veterans Day, we're going to be celebrating that with we're going to open it up to all of our vets. Anybody on the 12th, not the 11th, because the veterans are going to take advantage of all they can and they deserve to. So we're going to have a recognition for our veterans between 6 and 8. And I'm going to send letters out to some of our VFWs as well.
And that would be here at the town hall
Correct.
and council chambers.
Okay.
Anything else?
Ms. Domzowski.
I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
Second?
Motion to adjourn by Ms. Domzowski, seconded by Ms. Nowak. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All opposed?
Thank you all for coming tonight.
We are adjourned at 8:28.